All right, what's up? Snuffing Torches, Survivor 48, Episode 11 recap. We got a full crew. I don't think we've had a full crew like this since like season 42 or something. We got me, Nate, Saul, Gabe, John Rich, Saul and Gabe from season 47. Saul now a recurring guest, second time on this season. Gabe, first time.
It's an honor. Glad to be here.
Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got to say, I mean, first of all, that was a crazy adrenaline rush. The Knicks just came back from down like 20 points. I had two screens going. It perfectly synced up. But I don't think people want to hear about the Knicks on Snuff and Torches. But I can't remember the last time I've been this mad after a Survivor episode. We, for weeks, have been like, all right, they're not making their move on the Power 4 Alliance yet on Joe and Eva, who are two obvious, like the two most obvious people to win because it's going to wait till Final 7. Last week, I was giving Kyle slack. I was like, they'll get them next week.
I told you.
This is the most pathetic group of people, so afraid to make a move. I don't understand it. And I have nothing against Joe. I think he's a really good social player. Seems like a great guy, great family, great story. But I've been rooting against him just because, like, eventually you don't want to see someone just roll to $1 million. Like, his blind side would be awesome. Him and Eva would be shocked. It'd be a good moment. The fact that they didn't get him out tonight, I am now firmly Team Joe, Team Eva. I hope they roll the rest of these fucking morons for the rest of the season. I have never been this mad. I'm stunned.
May I say something?
You may.
As a day one Eva hater, and people are like, oh, you're not allowed to hate Eva. She is the worst person to watch on this fucking TV, and they take her to every reward challenge. Like, it's making me upset, and I don't.
I'm now a Joe and Eva stan.
I know you are. It's because the rest of them are just such fucking pussies, and I don't. I was talking to John Rich before the episode, and we're like, I guess they're just like, oh, I guess I'll just finish sixth. Like they don't have any spine, any balls. We're just happy to be on the island. Like, I fucking hate these people.
Soul, Gabe, you guys actually played the game. Maybe you won't be as angry. And I do try to be like I get it. They're people. They have reasons.
No, they're
actions.
marionettes for our entertainment.
Like I understand it, and it's raw and it's authentic. You spend 20 days on an island, but I cannot for the life of me come up with a logical solution for why Joe or Eva was not blindsided tonight.
Because they're just happy to be there. That's literally, we'll take the easy vote and we'll move on to tomorrow. I think that's literally the only reason. Gabe, Salt, like, thoughts?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because everybody at home, myself included, is waiting for some kind of big move to come about. And we saw it with the David vote, where it was like, all right, this is a guy who's been calling a lot of shots, who seemingly was in this huge alliance, and they blindsided him, mostly what seemed to be social reasons than strategic reasons. And I think a lot of people were like, all right, that was cool, but I want to see the Operation Italy, right? I want to see a big move get pulled that's purely for strategic purposes that puts somebody in a better position to win the game. And I'm wondering if it's cowardice that is leading to the lack of moves, or if it's arrogance on the part of the Kyles, the Shaheens, the Camilas. I think they genuinely believe that they will beat Joe and or Eva in a final three. Shaheen even alluded to that in one of his confessionals tonight. That's where I think all of this is coming from. I think that the people that are left in the game genuinely believe that they can beat any grouping of people at the final three as long as they're there. And so I'm kind of curious to ask you guys, what's a greater sin? Not being able to have the balls to make a big move and go after somebody who, could be vulnerable for one of the last times in this game, or having the arrogance to think I can actually go out and beat these people in a final three pitch.
I think the first is the way bigger sin. Like if you just kind of have a bad read on Shaheen, I was stunned by that confession. He was like, I think I could beat anyone. I think Shaheen is like smart. I think he's a good social player. But I can't really pinpoint much he's done other than now it seems like just be the third to Joe and Eva.
And so that's what I was going to say, is that for a guy like Shaheen to say that, I mean, maybe we'll get to see it. I don't know. But what does his final three pitch look like right now?
That literally happened last season. We had this exact scenario last season. I can't remember her name, But we sat here, we're like, why does she keep saying she has a chance to win when she has zero chance to win? I'm assuming, and you guys can help us.
Are you talking about Sue?
Was it Sue? I couldn't
No,
remember
I
her
don't
name.
think it was Sue. I don't actually know.
Caroline?
Might have been Teeny.
Was it? Oh, Teeny. Yes. When she was on the wrong side of every vote, she was just head in the clouds, didn't really have a good social game. And she was looking at the camera like, I think I'm going to get every vote. I feel like when you're out there and people are lying to you, you just start believing it. If they're using you for capital, like lying to you for your trust, like
we also have the benefit of like, we see the edited product,
right,
and we see what everyone thinks about each other when you're in the but they seem to even they address, they're like, Joe's the biggest shot to win. Like they all seem to address that tonight. I don't know. Saul, what do you think?
Yeah, Shaheen's comments, they didn't surprise me because Shaheen is a debate coach. He teaches public speaking, and I think he believes in himself enough to be like, yo, if I make it to this final tribal council, I'm going to go off and I'm going to blow all these people away with my words. That's why I think he thinks he's going to win.
And I don't think you're wrong about that, Saul. If anything, I think you're right on the money about that, the Salo money, if you will. But what I don't get with Shaheen is like, okay, you can sit here and you can wax soliloquies like you're Shakespeare, but if you don't have any structure behind it of like, I did this. Shaheen hasn't played a single advantage all game. He's formed one alliance that was the California girls that got broken apart after their first tribal council. He has no bona fide number one in this game.
No challenge wins.
No challenge
Came
wins.
up with a god-awful song about it.
You know, so it's like, I mean, but actually, other than a bunch of sing-songs about chicken and waffles and how bad he is at challenges, no disrespect to Shaheen, I met him in person. He's a delightful guy. But talking about the character on the show, the player in the game, like, I don't know what this guy says at Final Tribal. I'm sure it will sound great. I'm sure it will sound awesome, like it's a freaking Obama speech. But I don't know what the pillars that hold up his argument would be right now. And if you're Shaheen, and if you are thinking that, which it seems like he isn't, this is the time to stick one of those pillars up and say, everybody knew that Joe was the biggest threat in the game, and I took him out. I was the one who rallied all the underdogs and Mary and Mitch and Camila and whoever else, and I was the one who struck on Joe. Everybody else was too scared to do it until I came along. And that would be the biggest move of the season by far. And for him to forego that chance, it's like you're kind of running out of resume items here. I mean, it's going to be Final Six next week. Mitch is going to be the obvious vote out. Maybe he doesn't go home. Maybe somebody makes that move. But just by the way the season's been going, like, how can you predict anything else to happen? And after that, it's like, all right, bro, what are you going to do? Make fire?
It's
and
also way harder.
I know that this is all based on being directed at Shaheen, but this applies to everybody left in the game. That
Kyle
or evil. It's Kyle, it's Camila, it's Mitch. Like, this applies to everybody who's still in the game right now, where it's like, bro, you're running out of time to
I
make
thought Kyle had an opening. Kyle. Yeah, I thought Kyle had
no,
an opening.
I think
today.
Kyle's the only one who I could maybe actually see beating Joe or Eva.
That's like Kyle had that opening to make that move, and he
that would have put him ahead. But I still think Kyle's the only one I see left who I can at least a little bit be like, okay, maybe you have a shot.
I think it depends on if
ride with them.
It's if Camila or Kyle both make the final three. The fact that they have been so discreet about their relationship the entire game, that is going to blow the jury away. And they're going to go by each individual moment where they're like, yo, you guys didn't know this, you didn't know that. They're all going to be like, oh my God. And that's going to be a big factor.
And to that point, that is what Kyle has to bring to the table. And if Camila makes it, that's what she has to bring to the table too. But what Kyle has that Camila doesn't is the David vote, in that, hey, like, everybody was coming after my secret number one that I held secret from all of you, even my closest allies. And when her name was on the chopping block, I turned the vote away from her and still kept her as my secret number one. That in of itself is the biggest move that's been made this game. Not even Joe or Eva have a bigger move than that.
But they still, despite all that, they still didn't do a single thing to slow down the Joe and Eva train. And that's what drives me crazy. Is like, at some point, you just have to rip the Band-Aid off or pull the trigger. It's not like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it next vote. Like, at some point, you're out of votes. Like, at some point.
And the numbers are way harder now. Like, at 7, you have the 3 underdogs of Camila, Mitch, and Mary. It just takes one, either Kyle or Shaheen. Now you need Kyle and Shaheen to go along with Camila and Mitch to pull it off. It's way harder. I think so. We were sort of talking earlier, like, what are their reasons? Shaheen's reasons, I think, like we said, I don't know if you want to say arrogance or just delusional belief. And maybe it's not delusional. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe he'll get to tribal and he'll blow everyone's socks off and he'll win the money. But his is clearly like, I think I can win. Kyle seems to be way more of like a personal social bond he has with Joe.
Joe has him in a stranglehold.
Joe has Kyle by the balls.
Oh my God. I mean,
it's
Joe has
one story, and Kyle was like, I can't vote this guy out.
Kyle told him he got arrested in high school, and like Kyle's a lawyer now. Like Kyle is fine. Like I mean, I had some shit happen to me in high school. I'm sorry. Like maybe there was more to it than like I realized, but
there has to be more to that.
Like Joe.
I got drunk at a party and got arrested, and then
And he was, I know he had more, but again, like
Kyle did put out an Instagram video saying that like it was more about police and like treatment of minorities.
Oh, okay.
I think the point of it was like, if I was a white kid walking down the street with a beer in my hand, I probably wouldn't have gotten as shaken down as
Whoa,
gay. I'm just throwing it out there. This is snuffing torches, all right? There are no topics that we don't know.
Snuffing torches. Tommy's like, damn it.
Still, like,
Gabe, I don't know if you know, Gabe.
I'm not denying.
Tommy's trying to go on the show, but he has zero sob story. So, like, we're trying.
Bro, I don't have a sob story either. I have bro. My sob story is that like Baltimore is a shitty town. That was my sob story. So you're good, brother. Like,
right.
you're good. I mean, don't worry.
New York City's got some crime too.
There you go, Eric Adams.
Yeah, like Kyle, like I'm not taking away Kyle's story at all. I'm sure it's emotional, it's traumatic for him. Even that being said, if it was the worst story in the world, if he told the story about his entire family getting shot somewhere and he told Joe that would still not be enough for me to be like, well, I can't vote Joe out because I told him that story. Like, I still would try to put the game aside. And I do get what Kyle said either last week or the week before. And I'm interested in your 2 thoughts on this as playing, where he was like, you could sometimes tell there's juries that are going to honor the backstab game, the lie game, the strategic game. And there's juries that are going to vote for who they liked the most and who they thought, played the best social game. Did you guys have a read out there? Like, was it tough reading out there? I mean, I guess no offense, got to like final 5 or 6 where you were like, I guess, thinking that much about the jury. But like, is that cross your mind at some point where it's like, all right, I know how I'd vote if it was a final tribal council, but are you thinking about how that specific jury would vote?
So
I didn't even get there. Like, for me, when people would come back to Ponderosa and tell me their gameplay, I was fucking like, holy cow. Like, I did not know any of this was going on. Nate, you repeated that over and over when I was on Survivor.
Well, hold on. You have this very famous scene on the beach when you're like, I need to get my head out of my ass.
No, I'm fucking with you. Yeah. I mean, because it was just true. I didn't know anything. So, yeah, for me, it was like the gameplay was phenomenal on our season. And just being mind blown the whole time, I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate who I'm going to vote for this entire way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that pops into your head. And our season, I think, is not a good comparison for this question because we just had, and I'm not even trying to like blow smoke up our asses, we had top to bottom great players the entire way. It was just everybody was there to play. There was none of this like, people had the reasons for being out there, but there was none of this like, I'm here for my family or I'm here to show how loyal of a guy I am or be a good example for my kids. Like, it was, I'm here to play Survivor and win $1 million and be sole Survivor. End of story, right?
And I think that's why your season's arguably the best of the new era.
Oh, yeah. Well, not arguable in my opinion, but yeah. Like, so when it came to jury management for us and specifically for me, it was more so just like they're going to respect the best game, no matter what it is, no matter how much lying, no matter how much backstabbing, whatever it may be. These people will respect the best game, and that ended up being true. And I was one of the people who saw as well that fell into that archetype. This is not the same season. David is not going to respect the best game. Joe, if he ends up on the jury, is not going to respect the best game. I don't think Cedric, Chrissy, or Star will either. I think they probably have their very own specific, unique criteria for what
Loyalty.
they're voting for. And a lot of it, I'm sure a lot of people would say, is BS. Every jury is made differently and they all have their own reasons. But like, I do get where Kyle's coming from, where he's like, if I backstab Joe had a whole tirade about how it's, quote, impossible for him to go back on his word. So if you go backstab Joe, there's a very real chance that he's going to go poison that jury against you. And that's somebody who clearly has some weight and some influence on this season. So you got to be thinking, do I want to backstab this guy and send an angry Joe to the jury, a bitter Joe to the jury? Or would I rather take my chances with him at Final Tribal or even get him out at Fire, right? Maybe people think that there's a chance he goes out making Fire. He's a firefighter, so probably not. But like we saw in our season with
I mean, he puts him out. It doesn't make him. If anything, he'd be awful in a fire.
Well, there you go.
He'd instinctually just start putting it out.
Like Fire's weird, right? Like weird things happen at Fire. Like Sam was dead to rights in our season, and then Teeny doesn't move fast enough, and a gust of wind comes in, and Sam's sitting in the final three, and Teeny's on the jury. So it's like there's a lot of ways to skin this cat when you're trying to beat Joe and when you're trying to take him out. And for us as fans, it's disappointing because it's like, just backstab one of these motherfuckers already. Like, I'm tired of watching Eva go on rewards and win advantages. I'm tired of Joe just kind of brooding in the background, like just having people give him every piece of information in the game. Like, I get it, but if you're a guy like Kyle who, and you know, this is not a jab at anybody, but like, unlike Mitch, unlike I would say Shaheen right now, if you're a guy like Kyle, you actually have a shot to win this. You're probably thinking, what is the best possible way? Not just a way to the end. What's the best possible way to the end? And I do think there are some scenarios where blindsiding Joe is not the best possible way.
I get that. I do agree with that. I think there's a good chance that Kyle ends up like winning. And we look back and we're like, oh, I guess he was right. But for now, it is frustrating. Sure. Let's go through like just hit some of the major points from the show. We'll hit it like a chronological recap. Beginning, we got Mary pitching to Camila that she wants Joe or Eve out. So they're pretty clearly set up right there. Like that's going to be the play. Mary's making a move against Joe. Mary's obviously on the bottom. We see Kyle really struggling emotionally with what to do with it. I thought one thing that bothered me was Joe was like, I want to go to the Final Four with the strong people because that's what I would teach my kids to do. It's like, guess what, Joe? Then you're teaching your kids to be bad Survivor players. Then you're teaching your kids they're not playing an optimal game if that's what you're telling your kids, Joe.
Yeah.
But again, that kind of lends itself to like the fact that like there is no way to prepare to be on Survivor. Like, you can work out all day. You can get used to starving. You can do the obstacle courses. You can buy the challenges on Etsy. But the biggest variable that will dictate how you do on Survivor are the people that you get casted alongside. And there's no way to prepare. You can't hang out with every kind of person that there is in the US and Canada. Like, so like you're dealing with a guy like Joe, again, who's like, I want my kids to see what I'm like and what a Survivor player is like. And to your point, Tommy, like, yes, that you're showing your kids how to play a very unoptimized game of Survivor. But if you're somebody who's playing with Joe, like you have to ebb to that flow. You know?
No, I agree with that.
And so it's kind of not exactly with what you're saying, but I just wanted to like really hammer home that point that like you have to manage these kind of weird people that you end up out there with. I mean, Saul had to spend 2 weeks with fucking Rome, dude. Like he can speak to this better than anybody in the history of Survivor can.
That's the thing too, is like it's also like you got the weird people that you have, but then it's like, who's on your tribe? What are the dynamics of your tribe? And like Gabe said, mine was all fucked up. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Saul, like just out of curiosity, like you're out there, you kind of have a couple of days and you realize like who you're dealing with in a guy like Rome. Like how much of you wanted to push back against it and kind of alpha your way through him, and you ended up choosing to not do that and find like the zen within yourself? Like I mean, what was going through your head when you made those decisions? Because I think it is a really emblematic relationship of having to deal with these wacky fucking people in Survivor that you wouldn't deal with the same way you would in the real world.
For my game, everything changed when Rome got an idol. and then Roman on that jury, and he repeated over and over and over how he lost his vote, and it was like, okay, you're clearly overcompensating here. You have something. I didn't know what it was, but once he has 2 advantages, for me it was like, okay, this guy is so annoying. I'm just gonna have to like take a seat back and just be cool to everybody so he can burn his own torch. And ultimately that happened right before we got to merge. But yeah, it was for me, I was like, I remember doing confessionals being like, I made it. I'm on Survivor. And I have this one dude on my tribe, which ultimately, like, I did think he was a great player because he just totally ruined my game early on in the season.
If his mission was to ruin your game, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I'm like, God, this guy, very polarizing player for sure.
Yeah. Couple other things from early in the episode. I know, Nate, you talked about this. I loved the coconut scene. Mary just eating all the coconuts. That's just good old school Survivor villain shit.
Yeah.
I was like top 5 scene of the new era. Just she's so angry, she's cursing out, not cursing. I was like, I'm so pissed off. And then fucking Eva, she's eating on the coke. Eva's eating more calories per day than just most people alive, and she's on an
better
island.
than I am.
Crazy how she's every challenge. She's like a free space on bingo. Like, oh yeah, Eva's coming with us. So yeah, I really enjoyed.
We'll just throw her another advantage while we're at it.
And while she's here, let's sit her down next to the advantage bowl. Yeah, exactly.
I did see a funny tweet that was like, do they know that Eva is autistic?
I don't think I've ever seen that on Survivor.
No, I am blinded by my Eva hate right now, and I admit that. And just from day one, I just knew that it was just. I'm gonna stop. Carry on, Tommy.
I mean, what's particularly frustrating about like the Eva arc over the course of this season is that it's not an inherently bad thing when one person gobbles up all the advantages and idols over the course of the season. Like, look at fucking Russell Hantz, or Jeremy Collins, or like, tons of great players who have done that. It's annoying when the person who does that is also the last person who needs to use any of them. It's like, imagine watching like the Lord of the Rings where they're gathering all these fucking pieces of weapons and armor and shit, and they get it to the end and there's no fight, there's no battle at the end, and they just throw the ring in the lava and then they all go.
I mean, we saw tonight, like her, what is it called? Safety without power expired tonight because like that was her last chance to use it. She couldn't really use it because in case of like, 3-3 tie vote. So like that's one that just like obviously Mary probably wished she could have fucking.
Wait, she can't use it next. She can't use it the next one.
No, it expired at final 7.
Expires at 7, I think. Yeah.
Oh, well, why didn't she just use it?
Well, because she couldn't risk. Because then if she's out, her alliance is just Shaheen, Joe, and Kyle, and it could be 3 versus 3 if Mary, Mitch, and
her
Camila work together. Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead, but her arrogance level, and I guess it's well deserved. Like she knows it when she openly was like, I have so many idols that I'm telling you guys I'm going to give it to Joe. Yeah. And they were like, okay, because they're fucking pussies.
Yeah, so I was going to get to that next.
I know I got ahead of myself.
About how much he hates Eva.
the journey, they come. It's like, does anyone want to go? Mary's like, yeah, I'll fucking go. So they have to. Then everyone's all right.
Yeah.
Like they go to the rock draw. Eva wins because of course she does. I know people are always like, oh, they're rigging this whole game for Eva. If they which I don't.
It was a frozen rock, Tommy. It was a frozen rock. They told Eva to pick that one.
If they somehow found a way to rig Eva getting the purple rock, I'd have so much respect for them. I don't think that was the case, but Eva gets it, and then she's got to build this puzzle. She gets the 4. She gets her vote back again. We always say it. I'm sure you guys agree. Hate that just by going on the journey, you have to risk your vote. It should be like you have the option to play.
No, I like that though. I like that.
Why?
Who could because if there wasn't a downside, then.
But you don't get to choose.
He didn't choose.
Well, hold on.
No, they did at the beginning when they're all arguing over who gets to go.
You don't have to go on the boat if you don't want to risk your vote. Don't get on the boat.
Like, no, but I like that there's a downside. Like Eva should have had to risk something.
If you can't decide, they drew the purple. Whoever drew the purple rock had to go.
No. That
was the opportunity to risk it.
The whole reason they drew rocks is because they couldn't come to a consensus. If it was like nobody wants to go but Mary could have gotten on the boat and went. The rocks were just there in case you had to decide randomly.
What?
Right,
Yeah.
but like once 4 or 5 people are fighting for it and saying I want to go, they all have to go to rocks.
Well, the 4 or 5 people do. Not everybody.
You
Oh, that's a
think?
good question.
Oh
Does
no,
the match have
I
to be
know. I
everybody?
know for a fact. Yeah, we had multiple journeys like that on our season where it was like
Oh,
that.
really?
So you
So
can
someone just
opt out
goes
of
through and
rock.
throws
And
out.
every single time I opted out of every single journey. I never wanted to go on a journey. They gave us a
Yeah,
bag of
but you
rocks,
didn't have
and I
any
just said, I'm not-
opportunities to draw rocks.
No, we did.
You did
Yeah.
on a advantage where everyone's picking.
It was for whatever journey was. It wasn't the first one that TK and Asia went on, and it wasn't the one that
It was the one that Kyle went on.
It was the one that Kyle went on. We drew rocks for that, and I didn't draw a rock because I didn't
Oh.
want to
Gotcha.
go.
You could just
I
sit
didn't
out
know
the
that
rock
either.
throw.
Yeah, because I was like, fuck that. I'm not going on a fucking journey.
But regardless, Eva gets it. She and then out of nowhere, the knowledge of power advantage is back. Where the hell did that come? Bro, I feel like that wasn't on your guys' season, was it?
No, that's
No.
been dead for like
Yeah.
seasons now.
I was gonna say I feel like Xander and what's her name, Lauren, and like 41, like they had that moment.
Yeah.
But I thought they had kind of acknowledged the last couple of years at least. Like this is kind of a dud of a twist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
33 was last time. Yeah.
I do like, and maybe they put it back. Actually, I like that it's back in. I've now convinced myself into liking that it's back in because as much as people are saying, oh, they're giving the game to Eva, this was basically just to screw Eva because
It was an
like,
anti-Eva journey,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
she just
like-
happened to pull the money rock.
the knowledge is power only could have fucked over Eva. Like it's almost like a punishment. Like, hey, everybody knows about all these advantages you have, Eva. Well, guess what? Now somebody could take them if they get this advantage. So
Yeah.
I guess I don't like the advantage overall, but I do like that it decentivizes people from just blabbing about their advantages all the time.
Yeah, I think it was very like 48 specific where it worked out. I think
Yeah.
most seasons it's, to your point, not a great advantage because people aren't blabbing about it. But like I do think that, and maybe this will set a precedent moving forward. I don't know, that like there should be consequences for blabbing about your advantages. Like, because you have the benefit of like, well, you know, the people who I want to know, but there should be a drawback to that. And Eva's had none of that this season.
I like that in theory, but it also, you have to allow people to have what they think is their best social game. I don't like putting like a cap on
That's fair. Yeah.
what people can like. You should be able to say what you want and deal with the consequences of the social game, but I don't like the game penalizing you for your social
Yeah,
game.
no, that's fair. I agree with that.
And yeah, Eva, so she builds the 4, gets her vote back. When she continued, I was like, this is the dumb.
Yeah.
This might be the dumbest move in Survivor history. She's getting an advantage that she doesn't need at all. It's not even like she's blocking someone else from getting it. No one
I
else is
don't
on
even
the
think she
fucking
could
journey.
use it. Like, could she even successfully use that? Who's got?
Well, if somebody else got an idol, she could.
But she's got them all. There's nowhere left. She's got them all.
But so here's also what I was thinking. She only has one idol. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't put another idol back in the game. Like,
Well, I know I think they have, and nobody's found it or is looking for it because
Okay.
her idol is still from the.
Well, it
pre-merge.
hasn't been used yet.
But
That's
her
the
idol's
thing.
from the pre-merge.
Right.
Every time you merge, there's a merge idol.
Oh, right.
Bro, I wrote that down because I was confused. I was like, how is nobody hunting for one? And there just has to not be one, right? Like
They're
nobody's-
hunting. They're
It's out
hunting
there.
for one.
It's out
They're
there, and
just
they're
not
hunting,
showing
and they're just not finding it.
Somebody said today though that they didn't think there was one. Wasn't it like Joe or Shaheen was like, no, I don't think there's any left.
Well, I also don't think that
Somebody's under
those
the
aren't the
impression
guys
that-
who are looking. Like,
yeah.
Like, and that's a thing that I think a lot of people are upset with this season is that it is just this core alliance steamrolling, and there's everybody else who's just trying to get into this alliance instead of taking it down. So like nobody has an idol on their mind because it's just either I'm in this alliance and I'm safe, or I'm out of this alliance and my only path to safety is to get into it.
Let
And
me
in a
come in
lot-
5th. Please let me come in 5th. Like
It's
Even
pathetic.
though the alliance has 3 people and there's 7 fucking other people on the other side.
yeah.
I mean, it is such a stark contrast to like the run of 3 seasons that we got leading up to it, from 45 to 46 to 47, and even 45 had like a power alliance that ran shit, but even they turned on each other towards the end, and there were people actively plotting against them. Like, nobody who has plotted against this alliance over the course of the season.
A lot of times I get mad. I want people to make a move kind of for the sake of making a move, like for good TV or for a resume bullet, and I can be like talked down like, hey, they didn't have to. You have to do one right now, or you can't win the game, and they still won't do it. Like,
because
especially when Eva's got these advantages, which everybody knows about, and everyone knows that her and Joe are they're advertising it out, and still nothing happened. That's where I feel like Mary could have been like, guys, are you hearing this? Are you seeing what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And maybe she did, but it's crazy that this the way it worked out tonight.
And I can just say, and I think Saul can attest to this, having been out there, like, you do get into this mindset of like, I just want to wake up tomorrow, like, I don't want this dream to die. I just want to do whatever I can to just be here tomorrow, right? And that's something that's very hypnotizing, because once you do that day after day after day after day, you're like, okay, this is working. Like, this is my routine now.
Do you guys think about the money jumps? Like, we know it's like $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
Are you thinking like it's an extra $5K to go from 8th to 7th?
I know I was every single day. And even when I played my idol in the first tribal council I was at, and this was like not even in the top like 3 reasons why I played it. But part of it was like, I'm putting an extra $2K in my pocket just by standing up. So, and I need that money. I'm broke. So like, there's no chance that I'm walking away tonight and not having an extra $2,000 in my pocket, even if I go home tomorrow.
I almost feel they underplay those pay jumps because it's $1 million for first. I think the real cool dynamics are exactly what you just said. Someone broke who's hunting 2K to move from 9th to 8th or, whatever. I think that's super interesting and it's never been talked about.
Yeah, I wish that was more public. I would love to know after every vote, like, what the money is, like what that means for people. That would add a whole new element.
A very interesting concept that I don't think they've ever mentioned a single time on the show.
And it's something that, like, when you're in the game, they're not even talking about. Like, like as a player, you're not really hearing about it. So it's just if you have it in your head, if you remember what the numbers are. But I think it could be cool if Jeff was like, another $5,000 on, on the board tonight. Like, who's going to go get in this immunity challenge, or like even after he wins, like guaranteed a spot in the final 6 and $50,000 or something like that.
It's like at a poker tournament, you can see the board and like a pay jump from like 37 to 36. Like, it can be like life-changing money for a lot of people. So you play differently trying to get just to that next pay jump. Like, there should be a big board at immunity.
At tribal,
I think part of it, I don't want Saul or Gabe to answer this and get themselves in trouble, but I think part of it is like the pay jump from one spot to the next probably isn't like massive unless you're getting to like 2nd and 3rd. Like, I'd imagine the difference between 11th and 12th isn't life-changing money, right? Like, I don't think that like maybe people have that in their head as much, but I do think in general, the as long as it ain't me strategy, basically, like the set, like what we're talking about, like the Sandra won twice with that, like it could work. I don't know if it works on this season where there's such an obvious power alliance. Like, I think that in a season where there's chaos and a season where there's like nonstop blind sides and voting blocks and shifting, and you're like, it's fucking chaos out there. Like, I'm just getting myself tomorrow. I'll figure it out. Yeah. I definitely think that that's a sound, if not like smart and like optimal strategy. But when it's just a season where there's such a clear alliance and they're bragging about how clear their alliance is, that's when I don't really get it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying of like everyone's counter move to that is, well, I got to get in this alliance. Like, whether you're Mary and you're like, okay, well, David's bringing me in and now I'm in this 6-person alliance, or you're Mitch and you're like, I'm on the bottom, but I'm in this alliance right now. Like, the only person I think who is actually doing something without really doing anything is Camila, because she's not trying to like weasel her way into this alliance. She understands that the power she has in this game is coming from being outside this alliance.
Yeah.
with Kyle, through Kyle. And that makes her a pretty interesting player in the context of this season. But I can't think of a time, at least in like recent history, where everyone has been like, my only move is to find I want to be the sixth person in this alliance, and then I'll just snake my way through to 3. Like, and even that, like that's not a winning strategy, you know?
No.
Because then if you're sitting there with any combination of Joe, Eva, Shaheen, or Kyle, they're all going to be like, I don't know what this dude's going to say tonight, but he was just here. Like, he was just along for the ride. Like, and all y'all on the jury know that, you know? And to not have the foresight to understand that's how your final tribal is going to go if you become the third person of this alliance to make it to the end, like, it's very strange. And the psychology of this season is very strange and unfortunately kind of boring for us as viewers.
Yeah. Challenge. We'll go challenge next, and we'll get more into general stuff. But I think it's one of the wildest challenges ever. First of all, I love the layout of it. Like, I thought it was unique. I think we've seen that arc puzzle before, which
46.
26?
46.
Oh, 46. Yeah. I was kind of like, how the fuck does this work? I wasn't thinking like, oh, they're just going to have to hold it up. I was like, how are they defying the laws of gravity here? But the vase thing I liked the vase. I don't know. I thought it was a cool layout challenge. And then also the Joe guess might be one of the craziest puzzle guesses. I was like, can Joe not spell? Like, what is going? I think it was.
Oh yeah, what was the word?
Fun betrayal, but
Not fun
was
betrayal.
wrong. That was, and I love that Jeff made him say it. He's like,
Yes.
Go ahead and say it, Joe. Say what you think that is.
Read it.
Yeah,
Got fun betrayal.
great. And again, I get it. Like, you're frazzled out there in the middle of a challenge. That was stunning.
Well,
Yeah.
he did get to practice building the arc.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there might have been a little something there.
Of like, let me just do it. And even
let me do it. Like, let me build the arc. This probably isn't right, but like no one else.
How crushing would that have been? Like, to say, you won, and then, oh wait. No.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was the other thing. Rarely see a Jeff mess up in a challenge.
Rarely.
And
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I think someone said it might have been 6 or 8. He might have read a puzzle wrong, but seasoned Jeff now, new era, you never see that mess up. And he almost, I didn't even wasn't paying attention to the black and white tiles.
No,
Me either.
Let me say this in defense of Jeff Probst. He could have easily just dubbed it over. Nobody would have known. TV magic. I give him a lot of credit for keeping that in.
Same,
dude. And I mean, Saul knows that is definitely one of those things where it's just like something Jeff just tells you when you're out there to be like, make sure the tiles are white on this side and black on this side.
Yeah.
Something he probably never thought the TV audience would ever have to even know was part of the challenge.
Right.
And then it ends up deciding the whole thing.
Yeah, crazy.
I got a question for you guys because this pissed me off when I was watching it, but I wonder if in real life it wouldn't have mattered at all. When I forget who the first person who about to finish was. I think it was Camila, and like she's got the word figured out. Like, she's the only one with the word figured out. And Jeff goes, "Oh, it looks like Camila's on the right track." And then all of a sudden, everybody steps back and looks at Camila, and then suddenly everybody knows the word. Yeah. I thought that was bullshit.
Yep.
Me too.
I feel like Jeff should let that go. Because he essentially just announced, hey, if you look to your right, you'll know the word.
Yeah.
And then
it changed everything.
Maybe they would have all figured it out in seconds anyway, but that seemed kind of shitty to me.
It's been my biggest scream from a mountaintop about puzzles always. There should be dividers. You should not be able to cheat on word puzzles, word scrambles. I hate it.
Yeah. It's I imagine Jeff's perspective, and this is just me speculating, is probably well, they can just look if they want. So if they see somebody with an almost finished arc, they're probably looking to see well, they have 10 of the 11 letters down. Let me see what they're working on. So maybe he thinks it doesn't make that big of a difference, but to Nate's point, you can solve that issue really
There's been puzzles and then the challenges where people run over and look at it and run back to theirs.
Oh, yeah.
What season was it when one of the people just did the puzzle for the other. Was it last season?
That was 46. 46.
Yeah.
Tommy, do you remember what I'm
Yeah,
talking
I
about?
can't remember who it was, but
They
it
were
was
trying to
like,
stop Maria from winning. So I think Kenzie,
Yeah, so they just
and
colluded on
Liz,
a puzzle
like,
together.
yeah,
It was insanity.
yeah,
which was
but like
nuts.
that,
Dude,
I actually borderline don't mind as much because like it is kind of strategy and a weird.
that's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
opposed to Jeff
Game.
having an influence.
Right, like, and I think Jeff is pretty good about not doing stuff like that. I honestly feel like tonight was just like it was just slip of the like he probably wishes he didn't say it, maybe, but yeah, because
Dude.
on a word puzzle, like it's not just they're not building a house of cards where you could objectively be like, oh well, this person's close, right? Because they're higher. Like
Yeah,
a
'cause
word
maybe
puzzle,
they're far along, but they don't have the word right.
right. Like you could technically like have one block left and like, but he was like, oh, he wasn't like she has a lot of blocks done. He was like, she's on the right track, which made it
Yeah.
very much seem like it was right.
Dude,
Kyle,
Saul got yelled at by Jeff more than anybody else in challenge.
Really?
Whoa, wait,
Why?
why?
Dude, he was just
Yeah,
always breaking
so
the rules,
The
dude.
first challenge, not breaking rules, but not following instructions.
Yeah.
So the first challenge, the very first challenge, Sam, I remember I watched Sam, he's carrying this block and he does something really smart where he like drops it off beyond the point where you can let go of it and run back. I did it like 10 feet before and he's like, Saul. He gets pissed.
He got in
Like
his
if you fuck
ass,
up,
dude.
he gets
every
pissed and he
challenge.
makes you feel like that big. Remember the challenge where we're rowing the boats where everyone's boats flipped over? So he tells us you cannot jump out of the boat. You can't swim to go get one of the chests. Well, my entire tribe is yelling at me, Saul, go swim and go at the chest. I'm like, guys, I don't think we're allowed to. They're like, do it. I'm like, okay, I'll go. And I'll go. And as soon as I jump in the water, Saul, get back in the boat. And I'm like, oh God. So I'm like, I remember for like 3 days and like the whole world's just going to see me fucking up. And, but they never showed it.
We
Yeah, I was
had
gonna say, I
that
don't even
one
remember
where we
seeing
had to like cut the rice bag open and like it was like you tried to cut the bag open like not on the table or something. And
Oh
he's like,
no, I was there's the podium where you're going to actually play the game after you cut the rice. And I remember trying to open the key from the bag of rice on the platform, and I'm not allowed on the platform because I'm
Saul,
not doing
get
the
off the
challenge.
platform. And I remember me and Kyle look up and Kyle goes, damn, again? Like, he's yelling at this dude again. It's so
Damn.
funny.
Bad boy.
Do you guys have any banter with Jeff? Like not in a funny way, just in like a frustrated at him way. Like, Jeff, are you fucking kidding me with this? Or like, because we saw that we heard about that, maybe it was like 46 or something about, was it the hourglass? He was like, Jeff, this is fucking stupid.
Oh no, that was like
NFL
back
player.
in like 41 when they introduced the hourglass. Apparently, Danny McRae,
Yes.
he was like the former NFL player, like tore into him, like this is so fucking dumb, and like they cut it all. But that's not banter. That was berating of Jeff. When I think banter, I think like Penner.
Banter, berating, frustration, like, and any good stories of that?
I mean, the one you saw for me was when I told Jeff to stop talking to me when I was doing the immunity challenge that I won, where you're planked up on the boards, and I was like, Jeff, respectfully, stop talking to me. There was in that same challenge though, something that didn't make the edit was he was talking, he was like, Kyle going for the immunity record or something, and then somebody was like, no, he's just gonna tie it, and he was like, oh. And then like who are all the people that have the record? He was like talking to folks about like trying to clear up all the record info. And then I started chiming in, and then he looks at me and he was like, you need to lock in. You lock in on this right now. You don't worry about me. You lock in. I was like, Jeff, I'm good, dude. Like, you're the one talking, bro. Don't talk if you don't want me to listen to what you're saying. And he was like, all right. My bad. You guys lock in right now. I was like,
okay,
brother, we're like 20 minutes into this. I'm good. Like,
I
it's
have
right.
one. We can ask more general questions. I want to finish up the episode, but I do want to ask this now while we're on the topic, because I've met Jeff a couple times now, and there is an aura about him, and all you think about is, God, I hope he likes me. This is like such a pathetic question, but do you guys think Jeff liked you?
Oh.
No.
I don't know. There was I remember the last day we're at Rachel has won. We know that she's won. And Jeff asked all of us, like, what would you tell a future Survivor player? What advice would you give them? And I said, like, I started off with like, well, I was on a try with Rome. And then Jeff just cuts me off. And he's like, Saul, we don't need an hour-long, message to the community. Just wrap it up. And I go, can I finish, Jeff? And that was about the only one that I remember.
It was at the
Jeff,
reunion.
so the answer for you is no. Jeff did not like you.
Well, he did at the party. He did like talk to me and was like, Saul, great job. You brought it at all the challenges. And then that was like the last time I talked to him.
The exact quote from Jeff was, Saul, we don't need the bottom of the ninth game 7 stuff here. Just answer the question.
So he was just like, he wanted to get out of there. That's Jeff. Yeah. That's Jeff being the ump that calls the ball outside of strike 3. So
it's time to go home.
Yeah. Saul, get the fuck out. Let's go.
I think Jeff liked me as like a guy. I think he liked talking to me a lot. I think he really liked me at Tribal because he would always call on me on Tribal to my detriment and as a player, I think. And there was even this moment where Saul came up to me one day in the game and he was like, you got to chill at Tribal. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, all I'm saying is that like you're freaking people out with how you talk at Tribal and you got to stop. And then I was like, okay, well, I have 2 options here. I can either take his advice and be like, I'm going to, talk less or like just try to be dumber at Tribal. But I know I'm going to let Jeff down if I do that. And I don't want to let Jeff down. So I ended up taking that path where I was like, fuck it. If I don't win, at least Jeff will be like, Gabe was really good at Tribal Council. So I think he liked me. Yeah.
I think about that all the time where it's just like, if you like really want to win, just don't talk at Tribal. Like why would you ever talk at Tribal?
But I think from what I've heard, and they can attest, is like Jeff does get on people where it's like,
you got a gun to your head?
Fucking
I hate that. Like, how can they make you talk? Like, I'm playing my game, Jeff.
No, you can't make him, but he'll just like rib you, right?
Oh no!
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
you don't have to do it, but he's definitely gonna let you know.
Rarely, I mean, people give campy answers or like a lot of word salad without saying stuff. People rarely be like, Jeff, I'm not answering you, and I feel like people give way too much information out instead of doing the opposite. Instead of saying nothing, they say way too much.
But you're saying
Mary did it tonight. Mary did it tonight.
Yeah.
Saying I'm not going to answer this is also bad strategy.
Well, yeah,
like,
that's
nobody does.
Yeah.
So
and then also then if you hear that as a fellow player, you're like, well, what are you hiding? Like clearly there's something that you don't want us to figure out. So instead of me dealing with that, I'm just going to vote you out when I can. And
that's it, guys. I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want to talk.
I just don't want to talk to Jeff. Yeah, exactly.
It's clear from the very beginning that I will not be talking to Tribal.
Ooh, is that Galaxy Brain Survivor strategy? Pretend you lost your voice right before Tribal.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be, you could be like RFK Jr. up there. Be like,
I hate hearing myself talk, so I'm not going to
talk. Yeah, exactly. That'd be pretty good.
All right, let's wrap up the episode. Then we'll do some more just general Survivor stuff. But Camila wins that challenge. One thing early in the episode I liked is kind of goes to what we're saying. I forget who said it. I think it was Shaheen. Was like, "There's no out-loyal. It's outwit, outlast, outplay, out-loyal." I thought that was kind of a good.
That was Mary and Shaheen, right?
Yeah. So then after reward, Camila gets to choose 2 people. It's like sushi and shit. She chooses Mitch first because like Mitch isn't eating. Then she chooses Eva. I think everybody in America was like, how many rewards is Eva going to go on? But I actually think I like her strategic reasoning behind it, where it's like, I want to keep Joe and Eva comfortable. I don't want people to know about my alliance with Kyle. Joe's already a challenge beast. Let's not get him any like stronger. So we'll take Eva. So I get why people are like, oh my God, she doesn't have a reward, but I do think it was the right strategic move from her.
It was the only way that the blind side was going to work, is if she brings Eva.
Right.
And
you don't want to leave the big 4 back alone.
Right.
Yeah, that's that. And Camilla's in a position where she's like, I don't really need this blind side or big move as much as some of the other people in the game do. So like if other people want to be the face of that move, then okay. But like, I don't think it would have been smart for Camila to be the face of a Joe blindside, whether it succeeds or fails.
But I also think that Camila, I get it. Like, but let's say they never make a move on.
I would say, Gabe, I need you to
and
explain
Camila
that.
gets to the end. It's like, hey, I had a secret alliance with Kyle. It's like, all right, well, what the fuck did you do? We're now getting into a point of like, I've appreciated this Kyle Camila secret alliance. It saved them in the like swap portion of the game with the idol play. And yeah, Kyle did save Camila, I guess, in the David vote, but people kind of wanted David out anyway. Like we need to see the payoff of the Kyle Camila. Like I feel like that story still needs to be like tied up of they've had the secret alliance. All right, you've kind of saved Camila, but we need that. Like tonight would have been the perfect example of Kyle switches to Camila. I've been with her the whole time. We need a little more resolution to that secret alliance arc.
The only way that Camila wins is if she cuts Kyle before she gets to the end. It's the only meaningful move she can make for her game to go win. And this is not the time to do that. That's something you need to do at 6, probably ideally something you do at 5, or you hope he loses in fire. That's the only way Camilla's going to win. And that is a very legitimate path. That's something that she can still create. But like for her to go out and to manifest a Joe move, it doesn't help her because the numbers are against her and Kyle can't protect her at that point. The only way Camila can win is by cutting Kyle.
She needs a Joe move and a cut Kyle.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like if she does a Kyle move first, and people don't really know about the secret alliance, people are like, all right, who fucking cares? Like cool, you voted out Kyle.
She is then sending Kyle to the jury.
Yeah,
who is going to be like, well, we were working together the whole time, and then she flipped on me. That's by far the biggest move of the season.
What am I missing,
the whole jury then knows about their secret alliance going into Final Tribal. It's a great move for her, and I think that is more palpable to the jury for a winning move than anything Joe or Eva has done.
But tonight, couldn't Camila, Kyle, marry
Mitch?
Mitch, whatever, written down Joe's name, and then that's that. Like
I mean, they could have done that, and then Camila gets Kyle out at like Final 5.
Sure, yeah, but like
they could have. But again, if in the scenario we're talking about, if Camila is the face of it, she has the biggest target on her back in the game.
But she can't win if she doesn't do it. You like at some point hit a home run.
I think Kyle, if they voted out Joe tonight and Kyle flipped, I think Kyle would have been the face of the move because he's the person that went from the strong 4 to the underdog. So I think Kyle becomes the face of the move, and then Kyle's the top dog, and then Camila takes out Kyle. It's like, transfer of powers, but didn't happen.
They say it though in this episode that they're not really trying to win the game. They're like, one of us make the final 3 and then we're happy.
I think Camila says that at one point.
You should be kicked out off the island.
Anti-survivor. That's anti-survivor.
You should be kicked off the island if you say I'm only trying to make the final 3.
I would love to see a season where Nate makes all the rules and see how that would be
winner
awesome.
Take all. It would be
that would be. I think that you would have like people would die. I think. I think you would have people.
No. I would give rice. I'm not anti-food. I'm pro machete. I don't care if you have fire. It's really just stupid twists that are unnecessary, and you should never be playing just to make the final 5 or just for this. Just winner take all. Even like Joe and Eva are the closest to like collusion I think we've ever seen. You're not allowed to talk about splitting the money. They're basically she's like, I'm gonna give him the money if we're in the finals together.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous what's going on the show.
Yeah, she got back and she's like, so they went on the reward, and maybe it was on the reward right after. She's like, yeah, like, like obviously like Joe, like she was like, good luck getting Joe to turn on me. Like she's like, that's never gonna happen. And like
it's
if I
crazy.
have to, she's like, I'll give Joe the idol. Like people ever since Rob and Amber, power duo. I mean, that was a romantic duo. Obviously, it's different, but in general, power duos are seen as like poison in the game. Like you can't have an unbreakable duo. It's the most unbreakable duo I think we've seen since Rob and Amber. I really think it is.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. And like, I mean, like me and Sue were a pretty big duo on my season, right? We kept it much more low key. We were more Kyle and Camila than Joe and Eva.
Right.
But as soon as people caught wind of like, oh snap, like they voted together every single time, like one of them's got to go. And Gabe's obviously the much bigger threat than Sue is. But and if you're in Joe's position, I actually think he's in kind of a similar position that I was on 47, where he's not this strategic mastermind, but he finds himself being more of a power broker. in that if people want to implement their plans, they know go to Joe because with him comes Eva and all of her advantages. And I mean, Genevieve even says it when we voted out Saul, in that I want to make this big move happen. I have to go to Gabe to make it happen because with him comes all the Tuku votes. And when you're in that power broker role, it's very difficult to pick your head up and start to make moves because then people are like, oh, all this power this guy has in this game, he was using it for my benefit, but now he's trying to do his own thing with it. And that's not going to fly. So now one of them's got to go. And this is kind of more a commentary on just like how quiet Joe has been in this game, and yet he's running things, is because he's just using his sway and his power with Eva and her advantages to make other people's plans happen. He's not a mastermind. He's a power broker. And as soon as he picks his head up and says, you know what? I want Shaheen to go home. I guarantee you if that happens, everybody's going to be like, we got to get Joe the hell out of here because now his power is being used against us, not for us.
It almost happened tonight, to your point, where the second Mary was like causing chaos, she's like, Joe, I'm going to vote for you. And he's like, well, I got to throw a vote on somebody else.
Everybody lost their mind.
Right.
Everybody was like, we should vote on Joe.
Even Kyle and it was Shaheen. It was like, well, I was never going to turn on Joe, but now I'm starting to feel like Joe's going to turn on me. I actually think totally fair for after Joe hears that. Sure, he looks paranoid, but I get it. Like, if I feel like shit, she's voting for me. If she is an idol, I'm going home. I understand being like, I got to throw my vote on someone. What he should have just done is been like, told his alliance, like, I'm going to throw a vote on Mitch, guys, just in case. And that should have been the end of that conversation. So it doesn't break the trust. He's just like, yeah, I'm throwing a vote on Mitch, whatever. Like, I totally think that would have been the move. But he showed some paranoia tonight, and you could see people getting annoyed with him where it's like, Joe, you've been the fucking golden boy of the whole game.
Yeah.
Everything has been absolutely like golden for you from start to finish. One person said that they're going to write your name down and you're like causing havoc. So I do think that was a chink in Joe's armor tonight. But I also think that another thing that you said is like, he's not which I agree, he's not a strategic mastermind. And I think a lot of people are like, I saw a comment earlier, I tried to star it, like, I'm usually someone who roots for the best player. Like I'm not someone who's like, oh, this person's running the game, I want to see them out. Like if someone's playing a good game, I'll root for him. I think it's good TV, it's good Survivor. But Joe's not playing a style of game that I find like entertaining. He's undeniably playing a great social game, unbelievable social game. And he's got these incredibly strong bonds with people. But strategically, it's just, we have more numbers, we vote out the less numbers. Like he's not playing.
Nobody's playing a good game.
And
like,
no.
Yeah.
And
once they decided the
it,
strong six was going to happen and they stick to it, it's over. Like
and
that's what we're watching.
Kyle's playing a good game. He's
I agree.
Kyle's playing the best.
Okay, I like Kyle. I'm not saying I think Kyle's path to win was he had it tonight and he didn't take it. Like
last week.
No, I think this is the week for Kyle.
He's the only one.
He had 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah, he just
the only one.
Like nobody's taking the chance to win. And I mean, that's how we started this episode. That's probably how we'll end it. Like it's just this power alliance is just doing what they want. Nobody is stepping up to them. It's bad viewer. I think they did a good job editing it tonight, like to just at least keep us interested. But someone in chat, let me find Ali in chat goes, final tribal is going to be Joe and Eva pitching each other to win. Like, no, he deserves it. No, she deserves it. But that's what we're coming down to.
It's going to be like it's going to be like the Hunger Games where if PETA and Katniss get to the end and they're like, we're just going to both kill each other. So then snuff both our torches, like
and then Mitch wins.
And then Mitch wins. Yeah.
What's really going to piss me off is if Joe wins. And like him and I guess Eva, or like if Joe wins and he attributes it to his whole like I proved I can win by being loyal thing. Like the loyal thing only works when you're like the biggest, strongest guy who happens to have all the numbers. It's not because you were loyal. It's because like you just had an amazing social game. Like loyalty only works if you are like the best, strongest, most likable player.
Right, like
that's gonna drive me crazy.
And if the people that you're loyal to are on the jury. And right now, ain't nobody on that jury that he's been loyal to.
That's true too. Yeah.
Mary like isn't inherently a disloyal player. Like Mary just was on the wrong side of the numbers, but it's not like she was backstabbing people. Like she might be
No.
hearing Joe be like loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. She's like, well, what the fuck? I would love to do some loyalty. Like I'd love to
Yeah.
get this loyalty.
I've never rooted against loyalty more in my life.
Just of couples I'm jealous of.
Yeah.
No, fuck 'em.
When you're on 51, you're gonna find your wifey on 51.
No, you can't. You can't. I'm there. I'm not going to be. I can't be Robin Amber.
No, Tommy's gonna use his good-looking charms and then stab them in the back.
Yeah,
There
I'll
you
break
go.
some hearts out there.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else from the? Oh, one other thing from the episode. Kyle like revealing to Camila he's a lawyer instead of a teacher. I think we've said this before. Who gives a fuck that someone's a lawyer? I feel like that's such a thing in Survivor where it's like I can't tell them I'm a lawyer. Like what? Like lawyers aren't superheroes.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't respect
Especially
lawyers that much.
when most lawyers are like work relatively boring desk jobs,
Yeah.
but it's like they all act like it's Saul Goodman. Like, oh my god, like this dude is in the streets, like wheeling and
Right.
dealing his way through judges. It's like, no, Kyle probably does paperwork for 8 hours a day and then goes
Right.
home to his wife. Like that's
I
probably
think that's the thing about occupations is that we as players, we think that it's much bigger deal than what it actually is. Like I'm in sales. I didn't tell anyone I was in sales, and I try to lie about it, and it kind of fucked it up for me. Genevieve,
it just screws
Genevieve
you.
pulls me aside like 3 days before I'm voted out. And she's like, Saul, I got something to tell you. I'm like, what's up? She didn't tell me she was a lawyer. She told me she was in law school. Didn't even give me the full truth. Just give me half of it that I'm a law student. And I was like, oh, good for you, girl. Go for it. Get it.
I
Unless you're
told
like-
everybody.
You're like Oz the Mentalist or something.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that is like, there's like that's the only thing that I need.
I told everybody I was a bar back, and then when we merged and I met Saul, I told him I was like, "Yo, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a bar back in Baltimore." And then he pulls Kyle aside. He goes, "Gabe, he told you he's a bar back, right?" And Kyle's like, "Yeah." Saul goes, "That dude ain't a bar
Motherfucker
back."
ain't a bar back.
Instantly, literally instantly. After our first conversation.
What was your job at the time?
I was working on a political campaign, and I was a talk show host on the radio.
Gotcha.
And
So
so
that
I
I
didn't
didn't see
win.
hiding.
So you
Oh,
hear this
it-
guy
it-
talk on the mat and
it-
very charming and like I'm like,
Yeah.
this motherfucker can talk.
I guess
He's
I
not a
will
bar
say-
back.
I will say if you have a job that people perceive as like you're like rich already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that makes
Yeah.
Yeah, like John Rocker hit who he was, and that made
John
sense.
Rocker.
Like,
Yeah,
I
right.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite Survivor players ever.
Imagine if John Rocker was like, "No, I'm the guy who said all this stuff in the article." Like,
Yeah,
remember
that was
me?
me. They
Yeah,
took all my money, bro. That was me. That's why I'm here.
And I think Jeff Kent hit it too. And I think someone knew, and they
Someone
were like,
clocked
"Hey,
it.
I got your back. I'm not going to say you're Jeff Kent."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Survivor
yeah.
had both John Rocker and Jeff Kent. on
yeah,
it.
isn't that crazy?
Wow.
They
Jimmy
also had Jimmy
Johnson was
Johnson.
on
And
it.
Jimmy Johnson
Yeah.
was like, hey guys, I don't need the money.
Up front.
Jimmy
I don't-
Johnson thought he was
Can't
at a
hide who he is.
Margaritaville the whole time. He had no clue what was happening.
Jeff Kent and John Rocker's hilarious too.
Yeah.
Jeff
Yeah.
Kent was a pretty good player.
Yeah.
He was.
He was good.
John
He's
Rocker
also
was
got.
not.
I think Jeff Kent is kind of a hilarious guy too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should say this. Please acknowledge David. You were saying before
Dude.
the show, David standing up after
Oh, yeah.
Mary got voted out.
That was one of the funniest things.
Yeah, I thought that was
I don't
funny.
know what that was, but
Was that
I'm
a
pro
Mary
that.
stare down? Was that like a fuck you?
No,
Mary?
I think it was like
No,
in-
I think
in
it was like a white
solidarity with
knight.
Mary.
Yeah, like
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
Wait.
that was awesome.
That-
I
I
thought
had no clue what the hell it was.
it was
Wait,
hilarious.
Didn't
It was
Mary fuck him
campy.
over?
No,
No.
they were great allies. Remember, they became
Yeah.
best friends out of nowhere.
And then Mary didn't
Yeah,
vote
but
for him.
then but
No,
Mary,
Mary
didn't
voted
turn
for
on
Mitch.
him?
Mary
No, you're
started
right.
to
Yeah,
all
she
vote
stayed
Mitch.
with- Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
I
was
thought
really
that
just
we
like
need
I'm
more of
standing up
that.
for my girl.
Dude,
Okay.
like I want to get into that because it's a thing, but I think like if we're gonna wrap up the episode, yeah, probably
Yeah, he probably
Um,
just Heather.
like-
Oh, hey, Heather.
Like totally true.
we got to talk
What
about
is that?
Mary. I mean, obviously the person who got booted tonight, and like I think that she was one of the scrappiest players we've ever seen. She got put on one of the worst disaster tribes we've ever seen in the new era. She hit a shot in the dark in like a super dramatic way. She was constantly found herself on the bottom, constantly found ways to weasel out of being in a bad position. And she, like a lot of Survivor players, just hit a wall. But I thought she was great in her confessionals when they decided to give them to her. And I thought her rivalry with Say was awesome. I think it's awesome that she won that rivalry. Like, I was such a big Mary fan over the entire course of the season. And if she gets pulled back to the show, probably not, but who knows? But I thought she was an awesome casting. I thought she was fun to watch. I thought she played the game hard. She was not on this whole, big alliance loyalty BS. Like, I thought she was awesome. And I was really happy that they put her on the season.
I thought she was great. Like, scrappy underdog of the season.
Yeah, classic
entertaining,
scrappy underdog.
Funny, confessionals. Like, she is... she'd be top 3 people this season I would like to see back on another season. Agreed. I think David is someone I'd like to see back just because he's such a fucking absurd character.
Yeah.
We are a Star podcast. We love Star.
Dude, those are my 3 favorite people this season.
Yeah.
Like,
Tommy,
I think Kyle's playing the best game, but like, dude, David might be the best casting of the new era.
Yes.
So here's a behind the scenes, and he tells this story, so he won't get upset at me. The way he applied for the show initially was sending an email to Jeff Probst at CBS.com. That's how he applied to be on the show.
What?
And then partway through casting, he learned about the show The Challenge, and he was like, wait, can I go on that show, actually? I think I'd be... And they were like, no, dude, no. You're like, you're almost done with Survivor casting.
On a different network.
And he was like, oh, well, if I could ever be on that show, I'd like to go do that too. And it's like he was just this guy who, like, kind of as a love letter to the old school Survivor, just needed money, was kind of this wacky dude, had this crazy stuntman superhero look to him, said some crazy shit, like had this crazy, I've never watched the show before approach to the game, actually made a decently deep run. My fellow 9th place brother, like
if this was 2000, 2001, he would be a megastar, right?
He'd be on
every talk show.
Superstar.
He'd be on the Rosie O'Donnell show. She was a pre-Ellen.
He'd be on Ellen. He'd be on Oprah. Like, I think that to David's biggest detriment was I think they casted like too many Davids this season. Too many people who kind of didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Too many people who weren't really big students of the game. Like, if you put David on 47, oh my God, he would have been like this whirling dervish of chaos and must-see TV. And he ended up on a season where a lot of other people were kind of just trying to figure it out as they went. But I would love to see David back on the show again.
I think it's something we say all the time is we want Survivor to cast more non-Survivor fans, myself not included.
Yeah.
In that. They should cast
We actually talked
me.
about that on the island. Teeny mentioned that. She was like, half of them know the game and the other half literally have no clue and just get out there. That would be great TV.
And sometimes those are the best players. Sometimes people who don't there's an example that isn't popping into my head immediately, but maybe from earlier on where like they didn't really know the game that well, and then they just fucking figured it out because like you could talk about it, you could break down film, you could watch all the seasons, but that doesn't make you a good Survivor player. It makes you as like, using bonds and adapting on the fly, and you can't really study that. So I do think that you need game bots and super fans, but you also need like pawns for them to use and like make entertaining TV.
Yeah, I mean, it should be like a returning season, or maybe not. It's just David versus Cochran's, and it's just like a bunch of dummies against a bunch of nerds.
They did do David versus Goliath.
Yeah, so now it's just David versus Cochran's.
And like I think that those seasons are the best when they find that balance, because you have all the game body people who come in and they have this way they want to play, and then they have to adapt on the fly to the chaos that all the newbies bring in. And not like returnees versus newbies, just like students of the game versus people who have never watched the show. And it's like, it's kind of like a chess grandmaster playing against somebody who just learned how to play chess, and they just do crazy shit. And it's like, I don't know how to counter that because no one's ever done that before.
Yeah.
Like, why did you just do that? And this season was a lot of people where it's like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to make a move, or I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to make a really stupid move. And like kind of everyone's doing that, one of those two things. And our season was like, everybody's trying to make the optimal move, which is really fun to watch and super fun to play with. But like the Goldie,
very hard to play with.
Very hard to play with too.
Yeah.
You got to do with fucking Genevieve, dude. That shit sucks.
I mean,
So-
Andy just did laps around you guys.
Yes.
And Andy
He
couldn't
did.
tie his shoes when he got on the island, and then he ended up being the best player there.
Yeah. And he's somebody
Andy passing out on that first tribal was the best, or first challenge was the best thing to ever happen to Andy.
Yeah.
it set the stage for his whole game. No
Yeah,
doubt.
because
I
we're all
love
like,
his
don't
part.
even worry about this dude. Like
He is
anything.
one of my favorite arcs ever. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it was real or edited or somewhere in between, but I loved watching him grow a brain as the show went on.
Yeah, I thought it was a great arc. He was so easy to hate early on, and then he was so easy to root for.
He was the godfather by the time the season ended for him. He was in confessionals. He was like, I have them on my strings. I was like, Andy.
He was the
He
mob
definitely
boss
could
of
have won.
Operation Italy.
Yeah. Dude, that was so good. I forgot about that.
And I mean, like, Andy is the kind of guy where it's like you could put him on so many seasons and he wins, but like not 47. And that's the story.
I don't know if I'd say he wins. He's
Well,
such a unique guy.
Not as a returnee, but as his first time, I think he wins a lot of seasons of Survivor.
I also think there's a lot of seasons where he goes out right after he passes out of the challenge.
But
I mean, he almost did, so that's true.
The way he bounced back from that was so good, though.
Like, I think he's somebody that either like comes in first or last. Like, you were in 100 simulations, he came in first 50 times and last 50 times.
Because like he did the one thing that so many people in that position wouldn't do, which was flip on your number one. So many people in his position would have been like, well, John Lovett's my best friend, so like, John, let's figure this out. And he had the understanding to be like, fuck this dude. Like, if it's him or me, I'll throw him under the bus in a second. And like, I think on a lot of seasons, people don't do that. And I think
this is from Matthew in the chat. Were you guys are you guys the guys who didn't cheer when he opened the coconut?
No, we were not.
No, that wasn't us.
Okay, because that would be unforgivable. We would have to kick you off immediately. I forgot about that. He had a mental breakdown about not cheering when he opened the coconut.
One of my favorite shots from our season is when they're showing that scene where John's opening the coconut and everybody cheers, and Andy's in the background and he has this like mangled coconut and he's drinking it and his face is literally like and he looks like a psycho, dude. Like he looks like an animal. Like go back and watch that episode and you'll see exactly the scene I'm talking about. It is so funny. He looks
guys, go back and watch us on TV again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I tried to watch this on the plane the other day and they took our season off Delta Sol. Our season was
no
Delta Airlines, and when I went on to watch it, it was all heroes versus villains.
Sad.
You're just like nodding the guy next to you, like, wow, this guy's making a pretty good move.
Yeah, right. Whoa, this is found an idol. Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't wear earbuds. I turn the volume up on the screen.
Yeah. Do you have any more questions in the chat? Throw them in. We'll wrap up soon. I have one for you, Gabe, because I remember last season at the time, we definitely ribbed you a little bit on here. So it's only fair to bring it up to you. When you got voted out last season in your exit confessional, you were like, 100% chance I'll be back playing again. And I think you were an entertaining character, but I don't think you were someone where we were like 1,000%, almost like we said a day. What do you think right now your chances are playing again?
I mean, like for like a season like 50, like none. I mean, I think that I am somebody who fell into like, not to use this term again, but like a Goldilocks zone of getting booted off to be a returnee. Because it was long enough that I left an impression on the audience. I left an impression on Jeff and the producers and the people I played with. But I wasn't there so long that everyone's like, well, we know what he's going to do. Like, I think if you want to get called back and you're not like a, like a Boston Rob type, but even Boston Rob went out pretty early. Like, I think it's good to leave the people wanting more and being like, damn, what if Gabe got to like 7 or 6? Like, well, what would that look like? So I think I fall in a really good Goldilocks spot for getting called back. And also, I was somebody who like was the mover of our game up until I went home. Like, you go back and you watch our season, and this is not me like, pounding my chest. This is what people who I played with have told me. These are the opinions I got from Andy, from Genevieve, from Rachel, from Sue, from Saul, that when I went home, the entire landscape of the game changed. Because all of a sudden, Sue's vote was up for grabs, Caroline's vote was up for grabs, and where people needed to go to get their plans in motion was no man's land. And that is a very difficult position to achieve in Survivor, where you are running the game to the point where people say, if he goes any further, he's going to win. And that's where I was at.
I think you're someone who, if they ever do another second chance season or something like that, would be very well positioned. Where sort of like you said, I think you would do great on it because you do clearly know the game just from talking to you. But like you said, you're not
would know how to
Tony coming
tailor
in
your
with,
game.
right. You're not
time
Tony on Game Changers,
Yeah.
where people are like, we got to get him the fuck out right now.
Yeah.
like,
and so that's something that I didn't even think about. But like with my fellow players, everybody who watched me on TV is just like, oh, like him and Sue had like a tight alliance because I was in that power broker role that Joe's in now. And I was
you mean 45-year-old Sue?
45-year-old Sue, yes.
Did you, speaking of lying about jobs, did you guys think she was 45?
No, of course not.
No.
Dude. So there's a scene real quick when you see Saul and Sue's like, oh, I'm 48 or whatever. And Saul's like, oh, I'm 42. Saul's like, we look great for 40s. Yeah. And they fist bump. Saul, after that convo, came back to camp looking like a ghost and was like, did Sue tell you how old she was? And we were like, bro, you're good. She's like a decade older than you. Like, bro, you're fine. You don't look like that. Like, you're fine. No disrespect to my girl, Sue. That's my homegirl until I die. But I mean, getting back to it, like, yeah, no, I was in a place where like I had an immense amount of power in the game. And as soon as I picked my head up and was like, I want to make a move, is when everyone was like, oh shit, Gabe's throwing his weight around. Can't have that. Let's get him out of here. And to their credit, that's what everybody should have done. Like, that was the best move for everybody. If I get through that vote, I have a 4 Tuku versus everybody else, and Sue has an idol. So it's like, we find ourselves in a place where we can just steamroll to the end. And if I'm sitting at the end with any combination of Tukus, I win. I think I win clearly,
Yeah. So I know your answer is yes to playing again. Soul, if you were asked, would you play again?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Survivor was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, you got to do it for a couple days, Tommy. I mean, it was so fun. You don't have to worry about a goddamn thing, but just playing a game. And it was just the best. It's like, Nate, when we're playing poker, right? And it's in a tournament and you're just like in it. It's like, I could do this forever.
Yeah.
Another question from the chat here. If it came down to Genevieve or Rachel, both at Final Tribal, who do you think would have won, or who would you guys have voted for?
What a question.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to know, like, because things would have had to break differently to get them both there.
Yeah, obviously, like the hypotheticals, whatever. I like to think I still would have gone Rachel, just because she was immune from 7 until the end.
No, hold on, Gabe. Hold on. We said this on the boat ride on the way too. So Genevieve lasted like 3 more votes before we were like, okay, definitely Genevieve's coming home tonight. Then she stayed. Definitely Genevieve's coming home tonight. She stayed again. And at that point, it was like, if Genevieve keeps staying in this game, she's got my vote. We were saying that, Gabe. Remember?
Yeah, and we were. And that would have been, I mean, I think Genevieve had the best resume of anybody other than Rachel going into the end. But it's like, I don't know, just be like, the whole point of Survivor round by round is to keep yourself safe, right? And like the fans don't like to give a lot of credit to like challenge wins and stuff like that because it's not strategic and messy and dramatic and like fun. But like you were unable, that you were incapable of voting for Rachel from 7 until final 3. Like, if that's not winning Survivor, I don't know what is. And I know that
I actually I usually look at it the other way. Like, I get it. It's impressive to win challenges and find advantages, but like also there's something to like the social and strategic game of like, I wasn't safe. I had to scratch and claw every single vote to save myself. Like, I think there's an argument for both. I usually side on the latter. I'm usually like, Mike Holloway to me, or Ben from Heroes versus Hustlers. Like, those are 2 of the more underwhelming winners. I think Rachel played a better game, like socially and strategically, than either of those 2, but I think Genevieve was great. I mean, I thought Genevieve was a really impressive player from last season. I feel like if she got to the end, she might have won. But
I think she's straight up like full stop one of the best players ever. And I that's controversial, and obviously I'm as biased as you could possibly be. Right. But I also think Rachel's one of the best players ever. She tied the record for immunity, had her run, and like, to your point, Tommy, like the large majority of the fan base agrees with you. But like, when you're out there, you're not playing the fans game. You're playing production game. And production, no matter how much the fans have cried about it, shook their hands about it, challenges have never been devalued even a little bit from season 1 until now. And so it's like I'm playing their game, and if part of their game is winning these immunities is like part of winning, then I should be trying to do that as much as I can, and it should be as valuable as like strategizing or socializing my way into the next vote. That's how I always thought. It's like if I win, like, yes, if fans want to see touchdowns get scored as much as possible over the course of a football game. But if I can win the game by kicking off field goals every time, I'm going to keep kicking field goals until I win a Super Bowl, Yeah. And even though the fans hate it, like the game the NFL is designed is that a bunch of field goals is just as valuable as, an equal point tally of touchdowns. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and unfortunately, what we're seeing now is both teams just like taking a knee and then giving the ball to the other team and then taking another knee and then going to make marshmallows on the campfire.
Yeah, we need some fucking Oregon out there doing 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
I agree. Some Lamar Jackson action.
All right, we'll wrap up as we always do. We'll just do Jib Cut of the Week. We've gone long, so that's where we assign one the honorary star to me, Jib Cut of the Week. Where just one player this week where you liked the cut of their jib. It could have been one little moment, something.
Hey guys, wait. I Googled jib cut last time because I don't know what that means.
Okay, what did you find?
Do you like the?
I didn't find anything.
No, you've never heard the phrase like "cut of"? I like the cut of that person's
like
jib.
The cut of your jib. It's it's a boating term, right?
It's a what?
It's like a boating term. I think.
I don't know where.
I could be wrong, but I think a jib is a part of a boat, and I think like you would
go. You're going way too deep into jib.
Be like, hey sailor, I like the cut of your jib, and it's like, thanks.
So it's just like what you liked about the player today.
Yeah.
Did you think we set you up with a fake thing?
No, but I'm 43, and so you guys know so many more words that I don't know.
I think that's more of your generation.
I thought it was a decoy of like something fresh.
No, it's an 1800s nautical phrase. Gabe's right. It's like an old timey thing.
Okay, Nate, we'll start with you as a resident jibber.
Can I give David for standing up at travel?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna give Eva my jib cut because just when she was doing the challenge at the Journey and she was just talking so much shit to the camera about how great she is. I was like, I hate you so much, but I respect this. You're like, I have every single, like, they should have put the tally of everything she's done on the bottom. You'd have to scroll over. She's like, I don't even need the knowledge is power thing. I'm just here. And she keeps building. I don't know. Her arrogance is so annoying, but I respected it.
John, are you going with David?
No, I'll go with Star instead.
Gabe, what about you?
Wait, Robbie's in the chat. He wants to know your favorite Star Wars movies.
Okay. Crazy for Gabe to bring up NFL kickers after the Ravens dropped Tucker this week. Sore topic there, Nick, but not untrue.
Speaking of
cut of their jib. Okay, yeah. Hey, can I give it to GM of the Baltimore Ravens, Eric DaCosta, for cutting Justin Tucker this week and drafting Tyler Loop? Okay,
unfortunately, unless it was in the Survivor episode.
Someone mentioned how you did a dance of a murderer. Survivor
acquitted, found not guilty. I think I'm probably going to have to go with Camila. Won the challenge, is in a cool place to still make a big move. And I liked that she didn't put a big target on her back by how she chose the reward, which isn't saying a lot, but this was a pretty boring episode.
Saul?
I'm going to give it to my BFF, Jeff, JP, El Jefe, for keeping it real. And he fucked it up, but he's like, they cut it or they didn't edit it out. So that's what I'm going to go with.
I'm going to go with Joe. I'm a Joe guy now. I've been rooting for his downfall just to make a good season. But if they're not going to take him out, then fuck it. I'll root for him too. If they're all going to let him win, then I'm just going to root for him. On winner pick, I think if I'm going to actually do a winner pick, I think Kyle will end up winning this season.
I would say, do you take Joe or the field?
I would take the field. I still like
I'd take
Kyle
the
and
field.
Camilla's chances, but if I had to pick one, I'd take Kyle.
I'm sticking with Camila for my winner. I had her week 1. If they can get Joe out next week and she turns on Kyle, which is like a huge long shot, but she does have a path to do that.
Yeah, you would go wire to wire, John Rich. You picked her week 1.
Yeah,
I picked Shaheen week 1, so I'm riding that train.
he could do it. Yeah.
It would be tough for him to win, but
It would be, but
if he gets Joe, there's weeks to get people out. He can do it still.
yeah.
Gabe,
does Shaheen have the killer instinct? Can he do it?
I think he has it in him.
It would be fun to see.
But here's
There's a little time left. They got a little time left.
Here's the thing with Shaheen, though, and it's what I was talking about earlier, is that he doesn't have a proper number 1 to scheme with now.
Yeah.
And at this point in the game, that's all you have. Kyle can pull Camila over and be like, I want to do something. Let's move with our 2 votes. Joe and Eva can do that. Shaheen and Mitch are kind of just sitting there like, if they want to make a plan, who do they go to other than each other who they've never worked with before in this game? Like, that's why having a number 1 is so important, because the deeper you get in the game, the more valuable that one extra vote to implement your plan is. And like Shaheen doesn't have that. Mitch doesn't have that. David didn't have that for the entire game. Like, so, I mean, who knows? Maybe he finds something or like something gets mixed up. I think I'd probably go with Kyle right now. I think he's got a good position set up. He has a number 1 nobody knows about. I think if it is this steamroll to the end, if he finds himself in the final 3 of that steamroll, he's the only one who can make a case that can beat Joe or Eva. And I think it's a really good case too. I think he's like, we knew what they were doing the whole game. Nobody here knew what I was doing this game other than Camila, and she's the thing that I was working with.
I could see Joe being a final tribal loser. I know everyone says
I could see that too.
I could see people being bitter and just being like, we don't like this loyalty game. Like, whatever. What did that do for me? Like, I'm starting to get that vibe from him a little bit. I like Kyle to win.
And could we see Joe get to the end and have a bit of a coach moment in South Pacific? Joe very clearly, very, very clearly, to both us, the viewers, and as confirmed in David's exit press, went back on his word to David. David told him, let's vote Camila. Joe said yes. And then according to David's exit press, he told Joe, here's what's going to happen. Right before Tribal, Camila and Kyle are going to come up to you and say, I want to do something different, and you can't do that. And according to David, Joe said, I will not turn my back on you. And then he voted him out.
Unfortunately, nobody's going to shed a tear for fucking David being voted out.
But that's not the point. The point is that when they get to Final Tribal, people could ask Joe, own your game. I don't think he's going to be capable.
Yeah, but I'm saying if he's like, I lied to David, people would be like, okay. Like,
I don't think he's going to do that.
Like,
I don't think he has the capacity.
Okay, no, I disagree. In this case, I think it does matter that it's David. Like, oh, you lied to the ding dong. Like, okay, whatever.
But the point is, I don't think he's going to be able to say I lied to the
right.
ding dong.
Right.
I outlived him. Whatever.
I don't think he'll even say that. I think he'll just be like, no, I played.
I think he'll be like, I think he will do exactly what Coach did in South Pacific, where he's like, I didn't lie to anybody. I was honorable to everybody. And if you think I went back on my word, that's your problem.
I can't remember as clearly, but didn't Hoboken Mike kind of was somewhat similar at Final Tribal?
He did the same exact thing. Yep, the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And then it always ends the same with those folks. Sorry, not to drag it on.
No, you're good.
But it always ends the same, where at the end they finally break and they're like, well, I guess I'm just a terrible person then.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, bro, no one wants to see you like roll around in like your own shit. Like, now we're just sad. Now we're definitely not going to vote for you. Like,
I hate when people do that.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. It's that and saying you're going to give the money to charity, or what would you do with the money, as if that should never affect.
That should never even be. That should be a barred question.
Tommy, that's your number 1, Tommy, right?
I hate that. It's just this isn't who needs the money, or who would do with it. All right, thanks guys. It might be one of our longest Snuffing episodes ever. You guys were great. Anything else you want to get off your chest? Do you want to plug whatever? I don't know.
If you guys want to check out any of the cool stuff I'm doing, right here is my handle on all my socials, Twitter, Instagram.
So smart, Gabe. That was so smart.
Yeah, right. Instead of Katie, we'll make you K Daddy, and then
K Daddy, baby.
But yeah, I've been doing a bunch of podcasts like this. Happy to make my Barstool debut. This has been fun during Ravens season. I do a ton of Ravens content, so come check it out. I would be doing Orioles content right now if we didn't blow ass. So yeah, come see all the cool stuff I'm doing over there.
And that's for the podcast listeners. It's at Gabe Ortiz with an S instead of a Z at the end.
Thank you.
I have a comedy show in Brooklyn on Friday, doing my third stand-up act.
Oh, nice.
So follow me on Instagram and you can find out where to go. I've learned today from Gabe to put your handle there instead of K Daddy.
I'm not in New York this Friday, but tell me another stand-up show soon. I'd love to come see you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. That's it, guys. We'll be back next week. We have Sam on. We have Sam from last season.
Hell yeah.
Seven love going.
Nice.
That's it. Like, subscribe, go see Saul do stand-up, and go follow Gabe everywhere. All right. See ya.
Oh wait, did we do the picture?